today. My mind was very chaotic when I sat down, and I felt this resistance to being in there for 30 minutes. But it was actually really beautiful. I kept seeing the word surrender, like in a bunch of different forms. Like imagining surrender in an ocean, like going up and down the waves, and then imagining surrender being like washed onto the sand and onto the shore, and then imagining a bird flying by and picking up the word surrender, and then it like struggling to keep it in its mouth, and it drops into the ocean, and then it goes and gets it again, and then I think that that's what the last couple of days have felt like for me. They've been a giant surrender experiment. From walk number 81 to my car getting broken into and someone stealing my car's hardware, to an unexpected piece of unfortunate news that I was really looking forward to from my crush. I have just had to surrender to exactly what is, and not hold on to the way I want things to be. I think that it's no coincidence all of those things happened literally within a 24-hour period from Saturday to... Did all those things happen in a 24-hour period? Yeah, they did. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, I'll add one. I spoke with the matchmaker woman today. So that's hilarious. In the same 24 hours. Walk 81 happened, which I'll tell you about. I got some very fun news about my car. I got some very not fun news or fun news about my crush. And I met with a matchmaker woman who has... Me and Talia and Danny joke that every time I have a romantic shift since October of last year, this matchmaking firm has reached out to me because they think that I could be a fit for one of their clients. And right on cue, right after I get this news, there she is. So funny. So let's dive into it. As I really do feel, and you'll see throughout the course of these stories, I really do feel that I've let go. I had a profound moment of letting go earlier today that's actually completely unrelated to all of the events. Well, it's all related, but I didn't mention it in all the events I just said. So, wow, this has really been an eventful last 48 hours of the life of Elle. So let's crack right in. Okay, let's start with Saturday, 8 a.m. I get dressed. I talk to myself with loving affirmations of light, love, and joy, as I do before every one of the boardwalks here in Austin and San Francisco. I like to... Now my morning routines are very gratitude based, so I love to say I am statements and just kind of breathe love into myself. So I will just say, I am filled with joy. I love everyone. I accept everyone who comes on this walk today. I enjoy every moment of pure presence with the person in front of me. I am a better listener today. I ask better questions today. I follow my curiosity today. I listen to my intuition today. I trust myself to make the right decision in all moments. I trust that I can't make a mistake. I trust that every single thing that happens, every single person I meet, every single conversation I have is happening for a reason. I fully trust that everything on this walk happens for a reason and points me to my highest good. I hope and pray and manifest that this walk today gives me a roadmap to my next steps in all areas of my life and brings me profound joy, peace, and clarity. These are the kind of things I tell myself before every walk. And I'll just be twirling around and I'll have a Diet Coke. And by the way, let me just mention, I got a Yeti can holder for Christmas. Thank you to my mom and dad. And what a game changer. I used to be that person who would drink, and my mom knows this, used to drive her nuts. You know, like a can of soda or sparkling water or those heavenly limoncello. Ooh, LaCroix. Eehee. Now that, heaven sent. But I used to be that person who would drink like almost all of the can, but then maybe leave like a fifth of it. Because, especially with Diet Coke, when it stops feeling like ice cold, it loses the magic. It's like the moment's gone. I can't revive this. It literally feels like it gives me the ick to drink the last fifth of the Diet Coke. It's not even fully warm or anything. It just feels offensive. Like, why would I subject myself to the last fifth of the Diet Coke? That's disgusting. I respect myself more than that. I love myself too much to drink the last fifth of the Diet Coke. So what does that mean? I have a bunch of cans that have a fifth of the Diet Coke left. And you know, when I used to live at home back in Florida, my mom, with her wishful thinking, she'd find my what do you even want to call it, the graveyard of the fifth of Diet Coke cans, and she'd put them in the fridge, hoping, praying, wishing that I would drink it. Nay. Her wishes were for naught, because I will not drink it. I respect myself and love myself too much to subject myself to that disgusting taste. I don't even know what makes it so disgusting. Can somebody tell me why that tastes so disgusting? Why is that such a uniquely and universally offensive experience? Like, just thinking about it, like, makes me want to break out into hives. I'm not kidding. But anyway, back to the main plot. So I wake up and I have my Diet Coke and I twirl around, and like I told you in a prior video, I don't practice my ground rules speech for the boardwalks anymore because I used to run drills before the walk. I wake up at like 6:30 most days, and I would get ready, do exactly what I told you just now, but I would literally just say the speech over and over out loud to myself in the room, and just to make sure I had it right, you know, just to make sure, like, just to see, you know, what I would change, because every time is a little different because something floats into my subconscious mind, and I usually just follow it and let it rip. But I just wanted to make sure I had the bones right, the foundation right. I knew I did, but I didn't have as much trust for myself as I do now. So it's just so interesting how I have these routines in my life that really illustrate how much trust I have in myself. This weekly walk, I mean, so many ways, even just seeing the changes in my morning routine before the walk, I can see how much more I love and trust myself now than I did, you know, a couple of months ago, 6 months ago. My morning routine was so different before the walks. Now I have surrendered and let go, and I have so much trust and faith. And instead of running through the speech that I know like the back of my hand and have done dozens and dozens of times, I've replaced my anxious drills with these affirmational statements that make me feel so good about myself and make me feel so excited and like rejuvenate me with the passion for the walk. And they take any anxiety I have out and just replace the anxiety with joy and like excitement of like, what's going to happen today? And that's a really powerful place and feeling that I think rubs off on others. And every time I go and I give the speech now, I'm just I just let it happen. I just follow my intuition, and I'll throw things in there now that I trust myself that are great and that I love. A new addition I did this past Saturday. Well, I actually did this for the first time 2 weeks ago. I start off the speech by saying, can you raise your hand? This is your first. Well, I say a lot of things, but one thing I say is, can you raise your hand if this is your first time joining us? And then we celebrate the newcomers. And then I say, can you raise your hand if you're excited to have meaningful conversations? And then everyone should be raising their hand, right? So I'm like, you should all be raising your hand because that is the intention of this event, to brainstorm with people who are curious, kind, and open-minded. But I added a little something in that little part. I now say everyone's hand should be raised. And let me just tell you, if your hand isn't raised, I highly recommend that you exit stage left back to the coffee shop because you are not going to enjoy the next 2 hours. And I started doing that 2 weeks ago, and it really is a hit and clarifies that, hey, there are some people who hear about the walks despite how low-key it is, despite that I do not have this thing on Meetup, on Eventbrite. I keep it off all discovery platforms entirely. It is a majority word of mouth at this point. And my tweet that I make every week, because I can see the source of what brings people in through the signups, a majority of people come through word of mouth. And the people who do find it on Twitter, it has such a, I think, a clear energy at this point that it's based in the conversation that you know what you're getting. And then you make it through the sign up form and you see all the words about how intentional the space is. It's going to be really, really, really rare that someone who's going to show up at this point is not going to get what we're doing here. But if it does happen, or if, everyone's operating on a different level of self-awareness, right? So some people may see the way the walk is described and think, oh, that sounds like me. And maybe it's not, right? Because I'm building for curious, kind, open-minded people who love meaningful conversations. And so what I'm trying to say is, it's really important to me that everyone on the walk is an active contributor to that culture, who, comes with a spirit of giving rather than taking. That's what creates the two-way flow. Is if we had all talkers and no listeners, or all listeners and no talkers, that would not make for a good experience. So it's like that balance, that balance between, I love meaningful conversations. That's a two-way flow, curious, kind, open-minded. That protects against that too. So I'm just incredibly thoughtful about the space, and I'm baking in, even in these kind of like, lighthearted, jokey ways, like I just told you, safeguards into the experience in any way that I can think of, without being too rigid. So mostly just in my ground rule speech, which really does set the foundation on clarifying the energy, and also just encouraging people, like letting them know, this is a free space, but it's not for everyone, and it's not built to be for everyone. We are welcoming and inclusive to all who fit the culture of what I am building with the boardwalks and the space I'm creating. Putting in, listening to these, but I put in a wild, unimaginable amount of energy into creating this space. And I just feel like at this point, the culture fit's gotta be there. The culture fit has to be there, or a willingness to grow into the qualities that the culture requires. That's what makes it special. That's what keeps me coming and keeps me so excited to host these every week. So I'm just not willing to bend on these things anymore. And I have to clarify, and not that I usually do, but in the beginning I did. In the beginning I wasn't as confident. I didn't, I didn't want to have these tougher, more confrontational moments. I didn't want to have these feedback conversations. I didn't want to, put myself out there and feel awkward and confront people. But it's becoming increasingly important as more and more people come. And I had one of these moments, and like I told you in the last diary, like when it's new people, I have no problem, showing up, saying what's required, saying what the community, really what the community requires, what this space requires. And on this last walk 81, a couple of wild things happened. So I got up, did my morning routine, I threw in that new element to the speech, and in the forecast it said it was going to drizzle. So as I'm pulling up to Bennu, the parking lot looks really empty, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a really small walk today. And that would be totally fine. Like, as you know, I'd be thrilled if anyone shows up, and if no one showed up, I'd also be thrilled. Like I say all the time, if 10 people show up, it's perfect. If 100 people show up, it's perfect. If no one shows up, it's perfect. I will go and do the 5-mile walk and post a selfie from the trail and be so thrilled, so blissful, because I designed an event over something that I love to do by myself. So it don't matter. Having company is great, but I don't need it. And that energy, I think, is what's felt and what keeps people coming, because they know I'm not doing this because I need to. I'm doing this because I love it and I want to. So that's why everybody comes. Not because they need to, but because they love it and they want to. So I pull into the lot. It's looking pretty light. And I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be a small crowd today because rain is in the forecast. And it was just a drizzle. But it was kind of cold, and I'm like, okay, this is probably like the worst walk weather we've had in a year. And at this point, it's just cloudy. There's like a couple of raindrops here and there. And then a big crowd comes. People start pulling in, and I'm like, okay. So we're climbing to like 70 people. I'm so surprised that this many people came out in terrible weather conditions. I mean, I guess it wasn't terrible, but I see raining in the cold as like the least ideal walking conditions ever. So I did not expect anybody. The crowd far surpassed my expectations, and the people who showed up in those conditions, the tried, the true, the real ones, like, we love you, I love you, you are the best. Thank you for being there for 81. So we go across the street, and I get in the circle, do my speech, and things are getting like a little progressively darker, but it's not anything alarming. Like, we got through the 2 intro circles, we went around, said everybody's name, and everyone, it went off without a hitch, and everyone just feeling real good. And then we start the walk, and things are getting progressively windier. And I'm noticing, like, okay, the sky is getting dark. There's like no one on the trails. The rain's starting to kind of pick up into a drizzle. And then all of a sudden, and this is like, I don't know, a mile, 2 miles in, it starts thundering, lightning, loud, like cracking, like crumbling, cracking, making all these sounds, like this symphony of thunder and lightning. And then the rain picks up to a fever pitch. This rain, in almost like an instant, just comes like a sheet of water. So much rain. And then I just remember in the moment, I'm talking to my friend Sarav, and his friend who he had brought for the first time. There were actually like 10 to 15 new people there for this walk, which was so funny. And we're walking like, we're keep on keeping on. We're on the trail, we're making it happen. I'm having this conversation during this whole thing, the sheets of rain, having this conversation with Sarav and his friend about accountability in friendships, and like when should you be honest about noticing that your friend's energy or vibe is off. So they were telling me this story about how they had went to F1 last year, and then Sarav got overstimulated and kind of withdrew within himself, and his friend could tell that he wasn't having a good time, but he didn't want to call attention to it because he didn't know if that would make it worse. So we were discussing this. We're having like a really great locked in conversation about like, what would you do in this situation? Would you tell your friend or bring awareness to the fact that your friend's energy is down, or would you just like roll with it, try to make it good? What's the right move there? And then it starts hailing. like hard, like hard rocks hitting you in the head. And Garrett turns to me and he's like, Elle, I just got hit with hail. I think we should turn back. And I was like, yeah, okay, good call. And we're all like pretty close together at this point, but there's a group of guys, like about 5 of them, a little bit ahead of us. It was no more than like 75 feet, and it was raining so hard that it created like a sheet of white that I couldn't even really see them. I couldn't even see these guys who were like 50, 70 feet away from us. That's how hard it was raining. This was like the worst rain I have ever seen in Austin, let alone been walking in on the boardwalk on the lake. Like we are on the cement boardwalk on the lake at this point, and the rain is just, oh my gosh. I had taken a video where I tried, and I didn't destroy my phone apparently because we're here. Thank gosh. Thank you. I panned over, I tried to get footage of this because it was raining so hard. I'd taken my little crop jacket off, my white one, and I put it over my head, and then I put my phone under the jacket to try to record some stuff. And oh my gosh, I panned over to the skyline of Austin. It was like something out of Jurassic Park. It was raining so hard, you could see just like the faintest outline of the buildings. I was like, oh my gosh. It was really something. And it rained so hard that there was just like puddles like you wouldn't believe, that my entire foot, I mean a foot of, I don't know how it rained so hard in that moment that there was just a foot of water that I was walking, fell into this little hole of water. My shoe gets submerged. I'm like, oh my gosh, where are we? It was beyond anything I've ever experienced. But on the other hand, it was so fun. It was just so fun. You know, here we had, this is where this word surrender comes into play. It's just like, we couldn't do anything about it. Like, everyone knew, there was a lot going through my mind. I was like, is everyone safe? And like, is anyone cold? And I don't want anyone to get sick. And oh man, what about the new people who are coming for the first time? They get this crazy experience. And oh man, and all this stuff was going through my mind. And then Sarv turns to me and he's like, I would not want to be doing anything else right now. And I'm like, me too. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is really what I needed. We had not had a walk like this, a walk where it rained. I mean, the last rain walk we had, it was drizzling. I mean, this was an experience. This was like a water ride at Disney. This was Splash Mountain, but only the part where you get soaked on a never-ending loop. It was, so many people came up to me and they're like, this was one of my favorite walks. Like, people who have been there like over 50 times were like, I loved this walk. I feel like I bonded with everybody because we all went through that together and we all got out of it, and we're all wet, we're all soaked, and we were all still trying to have conversations while it was sheets of rain pouring on us. Like, that was awesome. I even had a couple of videos that I have on my Twitter, if you want to check it out, of people who had come for the first time who were just like, I had so much fun, like, you can record me talking about how much fun I had. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And this one wonderful girl named Elena, who had come for the first time, funny enough, we met at the University of Florida in the bathroom. She said that she came up to me and said, I love all of the involvement that you're doing on campus. Like, I love the projects you started and everything that you've done so far. And we hugged and I thanked her so much. And she's like, I haven't seen you since that day in the bathroom, but I kept up with you on Facebook and Twitter, and I saw the walks and I had to come check them out when I was in Austin. She's like, I'll definitely be back. This was so much fun. And it was just, she even said, like, I'm a part of Walk 81, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that just makes my heart sing, because every walk is such a unique experience. And this walk proves that. Like, Walk 81 will go down in history. That walk was really special, because you can have a plan that you do every week without fail, that you have done dozens and dozens of times, that you've executed in nearly the same way, dozens and dozens of times. And sometimes the universe has other plans for you. And the plans that the universe had for me on Saturday at 8 a.m. were to wake up, go to this walk, be greeted by 70 people who showed up despite the drizzle forecast. And then we didn't just get a drizzle, we got sheets of Jurassic Park style rain and hail hitting us in the head as we were still trying to have amazing conversations, and did. And me and a couple people were jumping around in puddles and laughing and just pure joy, play, and surrender. And I honestly would not trade the experience for the world, and I'm so glad that I got to do it with the people that I did. So here's to walk number 81. I will never forget that one. My gosh. It was so needed. So special. So here's your reminder. Let Walk 81 remind you that even if you have a set plan, or you have a routine in your life that always goes the same way, or nearly the same way, a switch up is needed. A switch up keeps things fresh, and it shows you that you can handle anything that life throws at you. That's what walk number 81 taught me, and I just feel so overwhelmed with gratitude for everyone who showed up. I mean, over 70 people were out there in the forecast of, cold drizzles. That's mind-blowing. I mean, I just feel like the luckiest person on the earth to have created a space that makes people so excited that they see a terrible forecast on the most inconvenient day and time in history and say, I'm gonna be there. That is freaking special. That gets me going. And just to see this group of people, we're all out there after this walk, drenched. Some people took their shoes off, they're wringing out their socks, wringing out their shirts. But we're all just, so many people stayed behind to talk more and more afterwards. To talk for I was there until, 2 p.m. From an 8 a.m. walk, I was there until 2 p.m. talking to people. Oh, special. Special, special, special. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So, one last thing about this. I'd asked one of the newcomers, not Elena, but someone else, what made you want to come to this walk with the forecast being what it was? And she was like, well, I saw it on Twitter, and I know that you have a reputation for doing these walks no matter what, rain or shine, and I knew that you would be out here. And something just told me, you need to be out there today, because Elle's gonna be out there, and if she can be out there, so can you. And she's like, that just motivated me. I thought about how you don't miss these, and you've missed so few of them, and if you don't miss, I shouldn't miss. I should put myself out there. And so the forecast being non-ideal actually motivated me, because I thought, you know what, I have been avoiding this out of social anxiety for a couple of weeks, and now on the most inconvenient day because of the forecast, I'm going to show up because I know that Elle's going to be there too. And I just thought that was beautiful. How special is it to have a reputation for being consistent? That is a really, really, really special reputation to have that I don't think I fully let sink in or appreciate sometimes, because damn, I really have done this thing 81 times. That is really, really something. 81 weeks of this. That is incredible. I'm just trying to imagine if someone was like, I've done 81 of these events. 81 of them. That's a lot. Holy crap. Yeah, wow. Sometimes you're like so close to yourself or like what you're doing that you can't even really fully appreciate how special it is, how special that consistency is, how rare that consistency is. And it's not like it is difficult to be that consistent, to do something for 81 weeks in a row, but at the end of the day, anyone can do it. Anyone can choose something that lights their soul on fire and ruthlessly commit to it and just say, I'm going to do this every week. That's what I did, right? I wasn't fully conscious of the fact that I was doing that in the very beginning. I just kept showing up because I was enjoying myself and I believed in the potential of what it could be once I settled into it and once I got more confident, once I had the leadership to shape it. I didn't know what I was doing on day one, but I trusted that I would figure it out if I just kept going. Wow, there's a lot of action going on out there today. I'd say a prayer for whoever that is out there that they're going to. But anyone can do it. I mean, anyone can say, I've done this 81 times. But few people do, I guess. So just showing up and doing the work is like really half the battle. I know this sounds cliche, but it's like really true. I don't know, coming from somebody who's done something 81 times. And by the time I'm done with this series, and maybe I'll never be done with it because I love it so much, but my goal is to do this for a year. So by the time I'm done with, I've already done this, what would this be, 23 or 24? I've done this 24 times. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I've sat here, I've already talked for 32 minutes somehow. But like, I've sat here and done this 23, 24 times. That's pretty damn cool too. Like, what? It's really cool how if you just tell yourself, you know what? I'm committing. I'm taking on a new commitment and I'm doing it. And I'm making something happen. It doesn't matter what that thing is. You can become that kind of person who has a reputation for consistency. It's like, what's stopping you from creating a reputation of consistency? And if you have any ideas of like what that looks like for you, or it could be anything. I mean, it could be around a health habit. It could be around, so many people have told me they started meditating as a result of my videos. I even had, oh my gosh, I had Maddie Taskett shout me out today on Twitter because she started doing these daily TikToks because she wants to write, is it 50,000 words? I think it's a big amount of words. I think it's thousands and thousands of words in 30 days or something. Absolutely absurd. She's a writer, so that makes sense. But she has this like huge challenge she's doing, and she started doing these daily videos to drive accountability and kind of track her journey and ad lib on where she is in the process. And she shouted me out because she was like, I started doing these daily video diaries because of Elle. And without Elle's meditation diaries, these videos wouldn't exist. So thank you to Elle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what? Like me just showing up and doing something every day, like inspired someone else to show up and do something every day. And by the way, the only reason I'm doing this is because of Zach Pogrob. He was the first person who said, I'm gonna be a madman and make a video every single day. And I saw that and he inspired me. So I was like, okay, we're off to the races. So look at how many, the creation flywheel here, it's just a bunch of consistent people inspiring each other to be consistent. It's pretty dang cool. And if I inspire you to be consistent in some way, whether you're creating something or you're just building on a habit for yourself, please let me know, because it's super, super exciting to me. Like, it lights me up like no one's business that these diaries have inspired people in any way at all. Whether it's Maddie spinning up her own series, or whether it's like the dozens of people who told me they started meditating anywhere from 5 minutes a day to some people have tried sitting on their floor like I do with 30 minutes. It's like, heck yeah, this is freaking epic. So let me know what influence this has had on you, if any, because it really gives me the fuel to keep going. I will keep going anyway, because once I make a commitment, I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. I just don't let it go. I'll ride that thing out. But I'd love to know the impact, because it'll make me a dog with the bone and wagging my tail. So if you want to make me wag my tail, let me know the impact. So that's surrender story number 1. Walk 81. Legends only. Surrender story number 2. Goodness me. I went home after the walk. I took a very long bath. Sometimes I take baths that are so long that like my feet ache because they're so pruned because I'm in the bath for so long. You don't even want to know what my record is for sitting in the bath. And I do recycle the water so it stays hot. But I am in the bath for a criminally long time, especially after the walks, because I like to decompress. I like to just take care of myself and call all of my energy back to me. So I lit all my candles and I just turned off my brain and relaxed. And I had a nice night in by myself. And then Sunday rolls around. And this was supposed to be the day that my crush was coming to see me. And I wasn't sure, because there's a lot going on right now, I wasn't sure if he was going to make it. And it was like kind of up in the air. I didn't want to influence his decision, because these are the kind of things, these game time, trips, I wanted to trust his judgment and trust that everything would unfold in perfect timing, whether or not he chose to be here. And so I spent the whole day with myself. I had like a bunch of classes planned at my yoga studio. I was going to do trigger point yin, which is where you take a lacrosse ball and you put it on like really sensitive areas where the joints get really sore, or your sciatica. It's really relieving and it's painful, but gosh, it feels good. And you just put it in that area and you use your body weight to like lean into it, and you just stay in there for so long, and oh my gosh, will that get some knots out. So I had that scheduled, and then I had a sound bath right afterwards, and I was going to top it off with something called kite yoga, which is all about somatic release. And same kind of theory as the yin, the trigger point yin, but a little different. You just get into these deep stretching positions, and you hold it for so long that you like feel your hips opening. Oh, it was heaven. But I had this whole day scheduled, and what do you know? I walk down to my car to get some lunch. I was going to go to Chipotle, and I notice as I'm walking up to my car that the contents of my glove box are all over my front seat, and my heart sinks to my stomach, and I'm like, oh my gosh, someone broke into my car. And I like immediately got a little scared, because I'm like, oh my gosh, are they around? And like, is anyone around? And I didn't really know what to do. So I like go over to the side of the car. This is actually not the first time that this has happened. Like somebody a couple of months ago got into my car, and they actually left some things. They left like a toothpaste and like a toothbrush, and they'd taken the contents out of my glove box as well. And I was like, why does this happen like this? So I thought everything was okay. Like I looked in my trunk, I saw that my stuff was still there. All my jackets were in the back seat. And I was like, okay, like what was the point of it? And then I see it. I notice this red light coming from the ignition, and they tried to steal my car. I have an old Kia Soul, and I don't know if you read the news stories about the Kia boys, but basically somebody, probably a bunch of teenagers, discovered that you can manipulate the steering wheel column of old Kias and Hyundais and jack the car. And somebody had taken my steering wheel column off and attempted to steal it, I'm guessing, but then maybe they couldn't figure out how to do it. So they took that off. They like ripped my turning signal off its hinge, like out of its holster. The wires are still there and not broken, so I'm like, okay. But they took like the ignition, the metal part on my ignition off of it. So I like there's a keyhole, but they like, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not. Who knows? But I couldn't get my car key into it to even drive it because it's too scratched or damaged. So long story short, somebody probably tried to steal my car and couldn't figure it out. And it was really alarming and sad. And I was really hangry when I found my car because it was like 2 p.m. I had just like spent the day with myself and deep cleaned my entire apartment, and then I get into my car and I find this. And I'm like, I can't even go get my comfort Chipotle. I'm so hungry. So I just took a deep sigh. I called my mom. I sent her pictures. She was house touring with my sister and my sister's fiance. And I was just like, goodness me, like, why? You know? Like, why does this have to happen? So I take all the pictures, I file the insurance claim, all that good stuff. I get the rental car reserved, which, by the way, let me just say, if you've never done this before, I guess there's a reason I pay the $150 a month to Geico, because it's pretty great. I made a claim to them. They'll cover up to like $35 of a rental car a day. So now I have this like rental car that I'm like skirting around. It's nothing fancy, but it just feels like cool to like drive around in a different car. I feel like it's like this little alter ego Elle who's driving around. But I was pretty bummed at this yesterday just because of the hassle, and it might be a big repair bill. And I was really just like reflecting on the fact that I might lose my car. Like, I might not have my car anymore. And like, she's been with me through a lot. I inherited her from my grandma in 2015, and she's been with me through so much. You know, she's seen me through my college days, every part of it, when I was an orientation leader, when I was an RA, when I was holding court in the local Chili's and having people come talk to me about their problems, their life philosophies, over 2 for $22 special and chips and salsa with the queso. She took me to Austin and moved me into all of my apartments. She's carried so many of my belongings that are so near and dear to my heart. All of my plants that I love so much. She's taken me on road trips to so many places, including the mountains of Sedona, which were an unbelievable drive where her engine was so out of shape and she's like climbing at the speed of molasses, like going 20 miles per hour. And she got me through that. She took me all over the state of Texas on road trips, to Flagstaff, Arizona, to see like the brightest, clearest skies. She's taking me through thousands of drive-thrus to get a large Diet Coke and nothing else. She's seen me stay at the Facebook office until midnight and then slink out of the Facebook office barely alive with a bunch of Diet Cokes and snacks in my backpack. And she's seen me play my comfort sad girl music a couple years ago, and she never judged me, not even once. She also hears the same song through her speakers every day because I get hooked on a song and I just replay it over and over again, because that's how this spicy brain likes to do things. And again, never judge me. She's just a special, special car. Like, it doesn't take much to make me happy. And That includes my car. You know, I love my car. It's a beater a little bit because she's a little damaged and she's old, but like I love her. I don't need anything else, and I'd love to keep her. So send a little prayer up to the sky for my darling Kia Soul. She's been through so much with me, and I don't want these to be our last days together. But if the repair bill is too high, I just might have to start a new chapter and get a new sweet angel baby. But shoot up a little prayer into the sky for her. But that was surrender story number 2. I feel really good about that one now, though, because I have this new rental car for a couple days and I'm just living, you know, it's just fun. I'm skirting around the city. I get to like drive a car that's like closer to the ground, and I just think the whole thing is so fun. I like connected my car to the Bluetooth, and it just feels like I have someone else's identity for a week. It's pretty awesome. So I'm really on the bright side of that one now. Surrender story number 3, and then I'll let you go because yet again, wow. So the guy I like, he was debating taking a trip here, and we talked about it because it's, you know, inconvenient and there's a lot going on. But we talked about it a couple days ago, and he was like, should I come visit? And I was like, I would love to have you here. I'd love to spend time with you, but it's ultimately up to you. And then he didn't end up coming. And I was feeling a little sad about it because I was just really excited to see him. And I know that I'm an asset and not a liability. I am not a distraction. Like, I understand what it takes to be with someone who has a big mission because I have a big mission. I am not that kind of a person who needs to be up your butt and around the corner to know that you love me or know that you care. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not very needy. I don't need every second of your attention. I'm not going to take you away from the work or what you're doing because I have my own. I have such a, that's a great part about dating someone who has a full life. It's like you have a full life, they have a full life, and then you get to just sync up when the universe allows, when the stars align. You get to, it's like almost like this. If you both went to an event, you, with the right person, you both talk to completely different people the whole night, and then at the end of the night, you get to debrief. And you have such full days that are not dependent on each other at all, that you can just share all of those goodies with each other and have those like amazing moments where you just come home to that person and get to crash into them and, you know, snuggle into their armpit. And those are the moments, even if it only lasts for 5 or 10 minutes. It's like, that's what a partnership is to me. I don't need every second of your day. I don't need every second of your time. I don't want every second of your time. I just, it's those small moments for me. Especially with two people who have really exciting lives and have a vision that they're working towards. But I also understand that I had that dynamic once, and a lot of people never have that dynamic. And if you never had something, you only are operating out of the frame of what you've known in the past. And if you've only had relationships where, you know, you were constantly letting your partner down because you couldn't spend enough time with them because they wanted every second of you and they were needy, and nothing against needy people, it's just you got to be compatible with that, right? And you didn't have your independence. I mean, I totally understand that you think, okay, this is exactly how it's going to go, because that's all you ever know. But anyway, it just takes 2 to tango and 2 to trust that It's a blank slate for the dynamic, and you can't project anything from the past onto this new person in front of you. You've got to really understand who they are and what life would look like with them. But he has a lot going on right now, and I wish I could give more detail, but for the nosies among us, I'll keep it vague. And I understand ultimately why, knowing some of his past, why it would make sense for him to be like, I can't risk being distracted right now because he's got some big deadlines he's got to hit. But like I said, I'm not an asset. Or, oh my gosh, I'm not a liability. I'm an asset, and I'm not a distraction. I am a spark in the engine. I'm a spark to the flame, baby. Oh yeah. I get it going, I keep it going. That's the impact that I have. I would want me in the room when I've got a big deadline, when I've got to be really creative. I bring out the best in creative men. It's my gift. I ask really great questions. I help men get unstuck. It is really one of my gifts. But I understand. You gotta know. You don't know until you know. But anyway, he chose not to come, and it made me sad. When I woke up today, I was just disappointed, and I think it's only human nature to be excited about something and then have it not happen, and you kind of go through this little bit of a meh period. But I listened to this episode that Danny and Tej, who I'm so excited to meet, his name is Tej Dosa, and man, I'm so excited to meet him. He's coming to Austin in April, and thank the Lord, we are going to have the best freaking podcast. It's going to be the Truth Triangle, me, Danny, and Talia, and Tej, and we are going to bring the house down with truth, baby. But I listened to this episode. It was like 2 hours and like 45 minutes of Tej and Danny. And in the episode, Danny shared a place where he wasn't free. He was like, I actually don't feel comfortable to share this story. And I've never heard Danny be unwilling to share anything. And I know the details of the story that he didn't want to share. And what's so funny is that if our roles were reversed, if I was Danny, I would have no hesitation to share this story. Like, it doesn't have any charge for me. Like, I would be so happy if we traded places. So happy. And it just goes to show you, it's like, wow, even the people you think are the freest people you know have these areas where they're stuck, and there's resistance, and there's heaviness, and there's unfreedom. And something about Danny saying that so openly, like saying, hey, like, I'm actually not free here, it gave me the permission to be like, wow, I wanted so badly to say, like, what would it take for you to let go? I wanted to teleport into the podcast and be like, what's stopping you from letting go, and what will it take for you to let go? And then in the moment when I wanted to ask Danny that question, I was like, I need to ask myself that question. Because here I am being sad over someone not taking a trip here. And who am I? Who am I to ask Danny that question when I'm not letting go of something that's causing me sadness? So then I turned the mirror and put the microphone in front of my own face, and I was like, what's it going to take for you to let go? What's stopping you from letting go? And dang, the floodgates opened. I just felt this like overwhelming wave of let go, let go, let go, let go, just let go. Oh my gosh, it felt incredible. Let's breathe deeply together. Ready? Inhale. Hold it. Sip in the last bit of air. gosh, that feels so good. And I just let go. Just like that exhale. I just let go. And I was like in Chipotle, of course, eating, crying. Oh my gosh. Like I could cry right now. Like I was crying with relief. With this wave of let go that came over me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I just gotta let this go. I have to surrender to like whatever is meant to happen. I can't give this person the key to my peace or the key to my happiness. No. I've got to turn all that energy back to myself. I cannot put my peace or happiness in the hands of another person because then it's at risk. If I put the keys to my peace and happiness in my own hands, it's always safe. I am always safe within myself. I cannot outsource my safety to another. And that hit me so profoundly. And I just streamed. It just streamed. And I took those crinkly Chipotle napkins and I'm like blotting my little face. And I'm like, dang, this was a good one. I was so happy that it happened like that. The fact that I could even cry in public is amazing. Holy nubs. And I get out. Ooh. Man, I've never yawned on camera before. That was intimate. I get out of the Chipotle, I go into my car, and I send Talia a 5-minute voice note where I just reflected on it, and I was like crying again. And I was like, I realized I needed to let go. And I'm not gonna push it. And I'm not gonna be angry. I'm just gonna accept. I'm gonna accept exactly what is, and I'm just gonna let go. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. Everything happens in perfect timing. I have to trust that. And I do trust that so completely and fully. Suffering happens when you want things to be a certain way instead of accepting the way things are. And I don't want to suffer. So I let go. And I just spoke that into existence. And I wrote a little piece about how that podcast had helped me let go. And I'm just living in this kind of like beautiful surrender of, I don't care what it's going to be. I don't care if it's this guy. I don't care if it's another guy. I'm completely open. And then I had this call with the matchmaker just hours later, which is so hilarious, hysterical timing, right as I let go. Literally 30 minutes before the matchmaker call, my crush reaches out to me. And just says a couple of things, and I just decide, I don't have anything left to say. I'm just gonna heart react. And I did. And then 30 minutes later, he comes back with a tweet that kind of explains the subconscious of like why I thought he was resisting visiting here. And then I just kind of let it rip. I just asked a couple of questions. He went back and forth, and I said a little bit of my piece, and I was just like, I want you to consider that I am different than 99% of any woman you've experienced. And he was like, I want to hear more. Like, what makes you say that? And I'm like, I've got a lot of meetings, so you can call me. And then I was busy and couldn't take his call. I wonder right now, actually, if in this meditation he's tried to call me, but I'm in do not disturb. But if he has, it's great. If he hasn't, it's great. I've let go. And I'm having such a good time. It's this or something better. Always. That's what you have to tell yourself. I have the best. I have this or something better. You just have to trust that with every fiber of your being. And when you let go, especially that's what today, this whole weekend has taught me, is just let go. Let it go. For real. When you let it go, and when I let him go, he came in with honesty. Isn't that amazing? And we open up the door for an honest conversation. That's amazing. You want to know why that happened? Because around 10 a.m., when I was feeling sad, I sent him a text that said, it's okay if you didn't visit, because at that point I didn't know or not if he had gotten on the plane. I said, if it's okay if you didn't visit, I trust your judgment with a heart. That was a huge deal for me. That was a pattern disrupt for me. Because in a past version of me, if a guy did something like that, or a guy disappointed me, I just would have ghosted and not said a word. And then he probably would have tried to reach out to me, and then I would have ignored him, and then eventually I would have answered. But that's immature, that's petty. This time, I chose love. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna send a wave of acceptance his way. That no matter what you choose, it's what's right for you, you know? But I am watching, I'm paying attention to your actions, you know, diligently. Because someone's actions show you where their priorities lie. But I'm open-minded, I'm open-hearted. The meeting with the matchmaker was just a screening, so she asked me a ton of questions. This is not my first rodeo. They've reached out to me many times by many different matchmaking services. I find it very, very fun. So they think I'm a good fit for one of their clients. I believe he's in Austin. They wanted to like verify things in my profile that they had me write up. And they also wanted to see if I was a catfish and make sure I look like my pictures. And she was like, you definitely look like your pictures. And I was like, yay. And so if they think I'm still a fit for this guy, then we could be going on a date very soon. So I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, you know, like at this point, I'm open to it all. I'm open. I'm open to everything, especially open to love, because I feel like I am just such pure love, pure radiance right now. So if it's not meant to be with this crush of mine, that's okay. It'll be this or something better. And I want the same for you. So if there's something that you have a strong attachment or commitment to in your mind, what if you held space for other possibilities? What would it be like to let go? What would it be like to open your mind? What would it be like to consider that it could be what you want, or it could be something better? What could you be missing because you're holding on so tightly to the way that you want something to be? How can you surrender? That's going to be my focus. My focus right now is going to be on opening up my mind and heart to other possibilities, but especially in romantic love. I am very, 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 very much open until I am locked in with somebody. So, by the way, if you're listening to this and you know a man who you think might be a good fit for me, let me know. I've got some unique tastes, I would say, and the chemistry and like emotional safety and just general compatibility means a lot to me. So you just don't really know until you're in person with somebody, but I'm always open. My heart is always wide open, baby, until I meet my husband. And, you know, we're gonna have such a good life together. But until then, I'm open. I'm very much open to the possibilities. So let me know if there's anyone who comes to mind for you. Or if you want to do a fun little thought experiment and tell me who you think I'd be good with personality-wise. I have a pretty good idea, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me for today's diary on letting go and surrender. And I hope you have the most magical, free-flowing week. And thank you for being here. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.